All right, here's your Unit 1 review for your Common Assessment. I'm going to help you out with this. Hopefully you've tried this before watching this. So it says one day a plant is 4 1/8 centimeters tall. 3 weeks later, he, being the plant, is 4 1/5 centimeters tall. So how much did the boy grow in 3 weeks? A little bit of a typo there. So how much more? That is should be a key for you for what operation? Subtraction. So we are going to have to subtract. So it's 4 1/8 and 4 1/5. Let's go ahead and just focus on the fractional part of it right now. We have to have the same denominators. We could just multiply those denominators, which is probably what we're going to end up doing anyways. A common denominator is going to be 40. 40. So how did we get from 8 to 40? Multiplying by 5. So do the same thing with the numerator. You got to treat them fairly. And from 5 to 40 was by 8. So we have to do the same thing for the 1, for the numerator. So 1 times 8 is 8. So now we actually have 4 and 5 40ths minus 4. I have that backwards, sorry, because it wants to know how much taller, how bigger, how much did it grow. So 4 and 8 40ths minus 4 and 5 40ths. We're just trying to find the difference in the height of this plant. So we can actually subtract the whole number here. It's just 4 minus 4, so those are actually going to go away. 4 holes minus 4 holes is 0. And so now we can just do, we know our denominator is going to be 40. And then subtract straight across. 8 minus 5 is 3. So it's going to be 3 40ths. That's how much it grew. We cannot simplify that because 3 and 40 do not have anything in common. Number 2, the average distance Trenton runs a year is 35.6 miles. What is the distance he runs in 8.5 years? So if you think back to our notes, we had a window, we had a door with a sticky note on it to feed the dog. Okay, when multiplying decimals, we have to find out how many decimal places we have first. In 35.6, we have 1 decimal place. And in 8.5, we also have 1. So how many is that combined? 2. Make it real big so we can't forget that. So now we're just doing 356 times 85. 5 times 6 is 30. 25. 5 times 5 is 25. Let's add the 3, which is 28. 5 times 3 is 15, plus the 2 is 17. Placeholder, because we just multiplied that right there. 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times 5 is 40, plus 4 is 44. And 8 times 3 is 24, plus the 4 is 28. So we add all these up. That is a 0. 8 and 8 is 16. 7 and 4 is 11, plus the 1 is 12. 8 and 1 and 1 is 10, so that is 3. So we get 30,260. However, this right here, bring that decimal place in twice, and it is 302.6, or 302 and 6 tenths. Alright, number 3. The Jacksons went on a 2-day trip through the mountains. On the first day, they drove 523.6 miles. On the second day, he drove 236.7 miles. So how many more miles, how many more means subtract, did he drive on the first day than the second? So I've seen several of y'all in class do this when multiplying decimals, but it's only necessary in adding and subtracting. The decimals must be in line. So 523 and 6/10 take away 236 and 7/10. Okay, keep those decimals in line right there. They need to be stacked up. We will have to borrow. It's going to be a 1. So now 2, 16 minus 7 is 9. We are going to have to borrow again. So 12 minus 6 is 6. Bring that decimal into your where it's supposed to be. So that's a 1 now. Have to borrow again. It's a lot of borrowing. 11 minus 3 is 8. And then 4 minus 2 is 2. So he drove 286 and 9/10 more miles the first day than the second day. Number 4, Mr. Sanford's RV recently used 21 5/8 gallons of gas on a recent trip. The last time the family made the trip, they only used 15 1/6. So how many more gallons of gas? How many more? So that's your keywords there. How many more keywords to tell you that it's subtraction. So how many more gallons of gas did they use on the recent trip? So we are subtracting. So let's go ahead and focus just on the fractional part first. We have a 1/6 and 5/8. So we need to get those to the same denominator. Let's skip count by 6 and see if we hear something out loud that possibly whenever we skip count by 8 that they would match. So if we skip count by 6, it would go 6 and 12, 18, that would be 9, so 18 doesn't work, 18, 24, so 8 times 3 is 24, right? So it's going to be 24. We're going to make equivalent fractions here, both having the denominator of 24. So to get from 6 to 24, you would multiply by 4. So we have to do the same thing to the numerator. 1 times 4 is 4. To get from 8 to 24, 8 times 3. So we have to do the same thing to the numerator. 5 times 3 is 15. So our new fractions, sorry, let me erase some of that. It's getting a little bit messy. So the 5/8 is 21. I'm looking at this one right here. 21 5/8 is now 21 15 24. And the 1/6 is now 15 4 24. 15 4 24. So on this one, we don't have to borrow anything. I'm going to see if I can move that. I know there's a way. There we go. There. We don't have to borrow anything on this. So because that first fraction, the 15 24, is larger than the 4 24, we don't have to borrow. So what that means is we can actually just subtract without turning these into improper fractions. It's whenever we have to borrow something from the first value, the 21 15 24. An example would be if it was 21 2 24 minus 15 4 24. You see, we would actually have to borrow here because that numerator is smaller than the 4. So just think to regular subtraction where we have to borrow from the value before it. So if the ones place was too small, we would borrow from the tens. So we actually don't have to do that on this because 15 is larger than the 4, so we can just subtract. We don't have to turn it into mixed numbers. So 21 minus 15 is 6. The denominator is 24, and 15 minus 4 is 9. So we need to think about our fractions here. 6 and 9 24ths. Do 9 and 24 have anything in common? This is one of those that people would say no, because 9 doesn't go into 24, which is true, it doesn't. However, what about 3? Does 3 go into both of them? We can divide them both by 3. So if we divide them both by 3, we end up with 6 wholes. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 24 divided by 3 is 8. Alright, number 5, see if I can zoom in, get that up here where you can see. There we go. I don't have a lot of room to work on this. 2 blocks are stacked on top of each other. One is 4 2/3 inches tall. The other is 2 6/7 inches tall. I'm going to go to the next page to see what the question is. How high is the stack? So because I have more space over there, it's 4 2/3 and 2 6/7. 4 2/3 and 2 6/7. Alright, so we're just adding these together. They obviously don't have like denominators. We have 4 holes and 2 holes. We can go ahead and combine those right now. So 4 holes and 2 holes gives us 6 holes. So now all we have to mess with is the 2/3 and the 6/7. 2/3 and 6/7. So let's look at those denominators. Let's, if you already know it, if you already know what the denominator is going to be, that's awesome. That means you're doing great. But if we skip count by 3, let's see if we hear something that matches something that would equal if we skip counted by 7. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. 21. So I'm sure some of y'all heard that. 21. So our new denominator is going to be 21 for both of them. 21. So how do we get from 3 to 21? Multiplied by 7. So do the same thing to the numerator. So that is now 14. How do we get from 7 to 21? Multiplied by 3. Do the same thing to the numerator. And that is 18. Now, before we forget about that, let's put something there so we don't forget we have 6 holes at the end. Alright, so when we add these fractions up, the denominator is 21. 14 plus 18, it's almost 14 plus 20, which would be 34, but it's 2 less than that, so it would be 32. Okay, so 32 over 21 is an improper fraction. Can't leave it like that. So there are some holes in there. So how many times does 21 go into 32? That means 32 divided by 21. It's 1 whole time. Subtract. That is 11 left over. So a remainder of 11. So that is 1 and 11 over 21. However, don't forget that 6 over there, the 6 holes that we already had, that we need to add on top of the 1 and 11 21s. So how many holes do we have now? We have 7 whole items and a remainder of 11 out of 21. Okay? Alright, that is what, 1 through 5? Wow, that takes 14 minutes. Alright, next video will be 6 through however far we can get.